don't want to be seen, then obviously turn yourself off. Otherwise, here we go. So with that, oh, let me just. We have another entrance coming, maybe have one or two more. So I'm going to start off. Welcome to the Simple Life Circle on this day, the 4th of November. Funny, the Simple Life Circle started a year ago. It's had its ups, it's had its downs, and it's now in its kind of second incarnation. So I'm here right now and I'm flying a little bit solo, but you know what? That's good, because I've got a lot to learn. And hopefully I've got a lot that we can put out there and that you may enjoy. It's going to be a bit of a packed show this evening. I've got a lot of stuff to get in here, but I would just like to say, should you wish to join in and contribute and put stuff in the chat, then I'm more than happy to get distracted as I'm prone to doing, and we'll see where we go from there. So we're obviously going to start probably with an introduction in just a moment. We're going to spend some time talking about mice. Was really fortunate enough the other day to get some quite close-up footage of mice, so that's exciting. We were talking about mice at a meeting this morning, and I like mice. As long as they're not in my house, I like mice. So we're going to spend some time looking at mice, and then we're going to follow that actually with one of the mice's get those plurals right, greatest predators. We're going to spend some time thinking about owls. And I've got one or two lovely pictures, and I've recorded some of the calls. And you know, I might even play the calls first and see if you can work out which one's which, and see how we go. And following that, I've got a little section on books, on some of the books that have been really important for me and have also helped inform my writing. So I thought we'd spend a little bit of time on with that one. We're going to talk a little bit about the event on Sunday very quickly, and we're going to round off with a little video about playing calm. And if you're not sure what that is, then we'll catch up with that one really shortly. So I'd just like to start off, as I said, an introduction, just to remind ourselves, actually. I think it's really important. Sometimes we get lost in the way that our life works and the way that our life runs, and just to remind ourselves that actually we are pretty important and life is pretty important. And I've just got a couple of little poems I'm going to read, little bits of writing, just for the purpose of reflection. One's a little poem, a verse by William Blake. And I kind of like this one because it kind of sums it all up for me. It says, to see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a wild flower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. Now, I just think that's kind of like everything around us is everything. We are a part of everything. Our entire life is a part of everything. And I just think it's really cool, because if you take that one a step further, and this one's comes from the Tao Te Ching. It's part of the 54th verse. And it's funny sometimes how the things that we need drop in right when we need them. And I've had a lot of those just lately, and you'll catch up with some of those things, because after all, there is no such thing as coincidence. All the things that happen for a reason. It's just that we don't always understand what that reason is. But this is rather wonderful. It says, life is everywhere. It has become everything. To truly see it as it is. Just in a person, see it as a person. In a family, see it as a family. In a country, see it as a country. In the world, see it as the world. How do I know this is true? By looking inside myself. I think that's pretty spectacularly awesome, because how do we look out best? By looking in. Now I'm going to leave you with that one for a minute to ponder, because I think there's a lot there to think about. And I'm going to jump straight from me and this massive wide world into something really, really small. You see, I've got a little video about mice. And this, one of the things about our world that we live in is that there's balance in all things. And there are times when you're feeling really, really down, and the best thing to do is get up and move. But that's balanced by the fact that sometimes to actually see the most, see more in our world, we actually need to be still. Because when we're still, quite often the world will actually come to us. It's one of the things we talk about when we're out in the five senses. But the other day, I was out in the morning, it was still dark, and I was doing my exercises. I do some Qigong, which is a really kind of like, it's channeling the energy in our bodies with exercise. And it's really cool. And I'm out there doing my exercises and I can hear some rustling. I'm thinking, okay, but it's a rat. Because we get rats from time to time. There's a kind of trade-off for feeding the birds, if you like. Anyway, carried on doing what I was doing. And it wasn't a rat. It's a mouse. And I'm like, whoa, this is cool. It's about 1.5 meters away from me. Yeah, these mice. I'm like, he's 1.5 meters away. I'm thinking, this is terrible. One of the perils of modern life, I'm outside and I'm exercising and I haven't got my mobile phone. So I can't take his picture. Oh, well, never mind. So I carry on doing my exercises and he's still there. I'm like, and then there's two of them. There's two. There are two little mice. Yeah, two mice. I'm like, whoa, this is cool. I wonder if I can nip indoors and get my phone. So I kind of backed up, bit Scooby-Doo like, to the back door, snuck in the back door, opened it up, reached in, grabbed my phone and came back out and shut it and stood where I was and the mouse is still there. I'm like, whoa. So I crouch down, I get my phone, turn on the camera, and of course the floodlight comes on. And I'm like, no. But even that didn't faze them. They're still there. I'm like, whoa, how cool is this? So then all the rest of my normal morning schedule is blown out the window because I'm filming mice. So this was kind of unbelievable. I mean, there was a point where they were about 1.5 feet, about 30 centimeters, a school ruler away, because they're moving a bit rapid. The problem is on your phone, the camera's not central. So the closer they get, the more out of shot they get. So I ended up with all this footage. Anyway, I edited it down a little bit. And this is a little kind of like conglomeration of what I got. So just bear with me because I am kind of operating without a technician these days. But this, hopefully, is the mouse video. Enjoy.
Never let you go.
So here we are. We have a mouse. Now, how do we know it's a mouse and not a small rat, for example? Well, there's a few typical clues we can use to make that decision. Firstly, it's got really big ears. We can quite clearly see that. It's got large eyes. We can quite clearly see that as well. It's got a very long tail and it's quite happy to leave it laying on the ground, probably because it's almost hairless. Unlike rats, which almost looks like they've got a piece of wire going right the way through their tail, they manage to keep it off the ground for the entirety of its length at pretty much the same height, which is interesting. Maybe rats are actually more hygienic than mice, contrary to our opinions of them. So in the UK, there are two really common mice. There are actually 6 species, but there's 2 really common ones. So the question we have to ask is, which one have we got here? Now, house mice, which quite often live with us in our houses, are actually uniformly brown all over, all the way down to the tail, which is mostly hairless. But most significantly, house mice have an odor. They smell. If you're living with a house mouse, you will know about it. These fellas, on the other hand, were odorless. There was no smell of mouse around at all at the time. You'll also notice that the belly and the paws are white as opposed to that brown top. They've got quite large feet, especially as the back, and they need that because they're actually really, really cautious.
and they're really, really kind of aware of what's around them, and they need to be able to make a quick getaway, and these do make a pretty quick getaway on occasions. So that was absolutely awesome. They're actually fairly common, but we just don't tend to see them that much. So it was absolutely unreal and a total privilege to be able to just watch and spend some time in the company of these nervous and amazing little creatures that we never really get close to. So enjoy a field or wood mouse.
Never let you go.
Wow. So, oh, look at that. All the praise, brilliant footage. I like people saying I do good stuff. Makes my head get big. There have been occasions in the last little while I'm gonna have to go out and get new hats. But did I name him Jerry? Do you know, for all the daftest, I never actually got kind of that close. I never even thought about giving him a name, because it's a bit like in all movies, you know, there were probably 4 or 5 mice in that scenario. And of course, as you saw at the end there, pretty much all of our rodent experiences end the same way, with a dog. So yeah, that was pretty cool. No, it wasn't Tom that chased him off. It was Scruffy, good old Scruffy, who's he's 100% terrier, and anything that he thinks moves he figures is fair game. So in the high-tech world that we live in, have a listen to this. Go. Did you hear that all right? Go. So, anybody got any idea what that was then? Referee's whistle, a kettle. So if I can get it loud enough, it's actually one of our native owls. It's actually one of our owls. So I think with that one, there are 5 owls in this country. There are 5 that we stand a chance of seeing. But to be fair, we actually hear them far more than we see them. And even then, sometimes you'll hear them in the evening, but the time to hear them is at stupid o'clock in the morning. Now, some of you are aware I'm prone during the week, especially, to getting up at around about 5 o'clock and being out by about 5:45 with the dogs. And the last month or so, there's generally been 2 of our native owls out there doing their stuff. So I thought it'd be great fun. It's going to be a little bit whistle stop. We'll see how the timing goes, but we'll have a look at some of our owls. So with, again, barn owl is the right one. Yeah, that was the barn owl. And I tell you what, they sound like the rising of the dead, or like we perceive the rising of the dead to be. But I'll talk a bit more about them in just a minute. Let me go to my lovely owl PowerPoint. Make that a bit bigger. Can everybody see that okay? Let's play from the beginning. Come on. That's it. So the first one we have got here. Actually, that's not right. That's the first one we should have. So tawny owl. Tawny owl is an amazing, amazing owl. They're the ones that you always know it's night in a TV program or a film, because it's the tawny owl they'll put on the background. Yeah. They're a fairly common owl. They're kind of the size of a wood pigeon-ish. Problem is you don't ever hear them. They've all got feathers kind of like on the front edge of the wing where they kind of got the curve is, and it just directs the wind over the wing so that they're silent, which is pretty cool because they are the most, if they're really cool predators. And they've actually, unlike us, they've got, their ears are on different levels. Yeah, one's higher than the other one. So as you know yourself, when you hear a sound and you look, you with binocular hearing, you actually turn your head so you're looking straight at it. Well, owls have got one ear higher than the other, so that not only are they looking at the right direction, but they're actually looking at the right orientation, up and down, which is really, really cool. They're seriously well adapted. They can't turn their heads all the way round, but they can do about 270 degrees, which is again pretty awesome. They're fairly widespread, not in Ireland, some strange reason, but they'll eat an awful lot of, in fact, they've got a really varied diet. They will eat small mammals, rodents, small birds, frogs, fish, insects, and worms. Probably one of the reasons why they're kind of doing quite well. But I think one of the most interesting things is the fact that you actually need 2 owls to get a tawit and a tawoo. Now, if you want to just have a quick guess, which one do you think, the male or the female, goes tawit? Any ideas? Aha. Well, it is, Judith's got that one. The male goes tawoo, and I think it's the female, obviously Michelle, goes you twit. I think that's the way around it is. So it's twit, tawoo. You need to have 2 owls to make the sound. Now, we've got a little bit of a recording here of tawny, but it's only one, so you'll have to work out which one you think it is. Well, yeah, I think that one's probably the male as well. But it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So let's go for the next one. There we go. Little owl. Now, I love little owls. You see them in the daytime because they're kind of out the entire time. Look at the attitude in that face. Does that not say to you, come on in, if you think you're big enough, I'm going to have you. I'm going to have you. You can see it's that small chip on the shoulder size thing, but they are kind of relatively recently introduced. For whatever reason, we all do the strangest things from time to time, but they really are spectacular little birds. And you kind of, once you get used to that kind of shape of them, then you kind of recognize them. You can actually pick them out. But there's been one locally and it's been calling quite a lot. I have to admit, unfortunately, I didn't get the quality of recording that I wanted, but have a listen to this one. So there you go. That's the little owl. We've had a few of those locally. They sound a bit like foxes in the distance. But no, nevertheless, very cool little owl. They're about the size of a blackbird. They're kind of quite tiddly, but quite amazing little characters and good fun to watch when they're in action, because they also, just like all owls, are completely silent in flight. So we come to the barn owl. This is the one that we gave you the call of earlier. The most beautiful bird when you see them gliding through the countryside. I absolutely love them in pieces. It's one of those birds, when you see a barn owl, you just have to say, okay, this world is cool. You know, I was saying right back at the beginning, there's life in everything. Well, they're one of those that just stand out. You know, that heart-shaped face is beautiful. When you actually see one take off from maybe the roof of a barn or from a building or from a tree, and you see them glide, they're absolutely fantastic. Now, their numbers have been declining through last century and into this one, but each adult needs around about 60 square miles of territory. Now, that's a pretty vast amount of land. And I imagine a lot of that is to do with the fact that there's a lot of loss of habitat. And when you're feeding on things like mice and voles, shrews and things, you've got to be able to see them, or at least hear them, largely in the case of the owl. And that's not always that easy, especially when, if you like, most of our fields are a monocrop. So it might be due to that. But it's amazing. We used to have a friend over at the back of East Street, and they had barn owls nesting in their barn, funnily enough. And I have to admit, they are extremely loud. And when they call and they shriek, it's ear-piercingly loud, ear-piercingly awesome. And they do sound like they're straight out of a Hammer horror movie. You've got this beautiful, beautiful bird that is fantastic to watch when it's gliding around with this most horrendous great shriek. So, you know, it's one of those, you just have to take it. It's a bit like a peacock. Beautiful bird, strangest sound that's going. So anyway, so there we go. That's the barn owl. Unless you desperately want to, I won't play the sound again. But beautiful birds. So, long-eared owl. I love the picture of the one in flight. It's got me written all over it. You not think it's a case of, or is it maybe just going, hang up, another photograph, better pose. Although I'm not quite sure how to hold their wings and keep going like that in the air, but there you go. I've actually had my mitts on a long-eared owl, which was pretty special. It was many years ago. I used to go bird ringing at Sandwich Bay Bird Observatory, which was pretty cool, it has to be said. And I remember being told, we went into the back of Worth Marshes, drove up in our Land Rover, got our wellies on, because the bridge is actually underneath the, if you like, the dike, the stream, because I don't want people going over there unless they're meant to be going over there. Yeah, you might be right, John. And we went in and we set up the nets. And I suppose a bit like on a kind of driven shoot, we actually drove the birds down to the nets. But when you get hold of a bird, they always tell you, right? Because people tend to think, oh, that beak looks a bit sharp. I don't want to get anywhere near that beak. It's not the beak you've got to worry about, even in a raptor or an owl. What you've got to worry about is the feet, because those talons are sharp. They are seriously sharp. So I've got this long-eared owl in my hands, and one of its feet get hold of my thumb. So I've now got 4 talons right into my thumb, and I have to say it was a bit uncomfortable. It actually hurt an awful lot, but I've got hold of this bird, so I can't let it go because I can't let it go. We're going to ring this bird. We've got to look at it. Having caught it, we've taken responsibility for it, and so therefore I have to keep hold of it until somebody else comes and actually separates the claws from my thumb. It hurt, but it was amazing to actually be able to hold these birds, put rings on them, and then let them go back into the wild, because what we can learn from those rings is quite vast. Now, the head feathers, and they're actually tufts, are not ears, are they just stand up. They're just a part of it. For whatever reason, they've got those feathers that look like they've got ears. Incidentally, we tend to think of wise old owl because they've got those two eyes that look out from in front of us in front of them, which is ironic. We kind of think they're wise because those two eyes are looking straight forward like we've got, and we like to think we're intelligent. Maybe we'll have a chat on that one later, but actually an owl is not that smart at all. They act purely and simply on very, very quick reactions. They're primed to act very, very quickly to when they hear those sounds. I mean, they can see better than us in the dark because, if you like, in our eyes, we've got rods and cones. Rods are the things that help you see black and white, and cones are the things that help you see color. Well, at night, there's not a lot of color to be seen, so they haven't got very many of those, but they've got more rods, which means they can see more light than we can. So that, coupled with their ability to hear, really does kind of make them a very, very good nighttime predator. So what does the long-eared owl sound like? It sounds like this. God, sounds like kids on the playground going, you. Anyway, maybe that's the way you can remember it when you're out in the countryside and you hear one. So, short-eared owls. It says commonly seen hunting during the day. I have to confess, I've not ever seen one. I've never seen a short-eared owl. I've heard people talk about them. It does say they're an amber list species. That means that the numbers are down. They're not what they should be or what we would like, but they are another one, as I say, you can see hunting during the day, and they're kind of pigeon-sized, a bit bigger than a pigeon, but yeah, another beautiful bird. And if you look, the head's just a slightly different shape, and the ears are kind of slightly shorter. So there you go, and this is the short-eared owl. So a kind of yep, which is kind of an interesting one. So let me just move that out of the way, and let's get out of that. Stop the share. Look at that, and there's me back again. So there we go. That was your quick whistle-stop Simple Life Circle tour of the population of owls in this country. So having realized that I've seriously over-fulfilled the agenda, the list for this evening, I shall be learning and readjusting slightly. I'm going to leave out the books section for today and basically just say we have got one of our Five Senses walks on Sunday at the Hare and Hounds in Northbourne. If anybody would like to come, we'll be having a little bit of a walk through the old Bettsinger coalfield. We'll be having a walk through some of Lord Northbourne's parkland, and we'll be having a look at the Foulmead estuary part of, because there was a time when you actually used to be able to come in from the sea up through towards Northbourne and turn around to the left and come past my house in a boat. Now, I wouldn't do it anymore because it won't work. But there was a time back in the past, and if anybody is interested, we'll just put the location in the chat. There are a few spaces left, although to be fair, we've got them filling up, which is also pretty awesomely cool. What I will just do before you go, I have got, and this is where my technical abilities might just kind of like show themselves up. I'm going to try and show you, a video. And one of the fun parts, not had that problem before. Ah, there we go. So if that goes, and then I go, there it is. Do that. And I drop that one down there, drop that to there, come back into us. Oh, look at this. This is so much more professional than last week, however amateurish it might look now. it's funny. We've been waiting ever since the 25th of August to pay the royalties from the Kindle launch to Calm. But Amazon weren't paying the royalties, and Amazon weren't paying the royalties, and Amazon weren't. And we're like, so on Monday, me and my goodly wife Gillian said, "But never mind, Amazon, we're going to pay the royalties to Calm." So this is the video of us paying the royalties to Calm. But the really weird thing, and we were saying about how things drop in, and we don't believe in coincidences and stuff like that. When I actually went in and checked my bank balance later, Amazon paid the royalties in on exactly the same day. How spooky is that one? So anyway, here's the video of me giving the royalties to Calm. Just need to move the toolbar because it's sitting right on the plate. Here we go.
Never let you go.
Hi, Simon here. On the 25th of August this year, 2021, we released the Kindle version of this book, The View Over the Wall, Onto the World. The View Over the Wall is a book about our countryside. It's a celebration of our countryside. It's about how we relate to the world we live in, how we connect to it, and how we can use that as a resource for our own mental well-being and find a little peace in the world that we live in. Now, as part of that fundraiser, we actually said we donate all our profits to Calm, the Campaign Against Living Miserably. Calm do their level best to bring to the forefront of our awareness the issues of mental health in young men and the fact that the suicide rate in young men is rising. So they're looking to alleviate that stress. So it seemed to me a really worthwhile cause to support in the launch of our book. And we are literally, at this moment, I'm about to press the button to send that money to Calm. So here we go. So we pressed the button for submit, and we're just waiting for our internet to give us the notification. And there you go, it's gone through. Thank you for supporting Calm. That's job done. If you'd like to buy a copy of The View Over the Wall, then the link for Amazon will be in the comments below, or alternatively, message me. Thank you very much indeed. That's Simon, Simple Life.
So there we go. That's back to me. That was that was Tuesday morning when we paid the royalties across to Calm, which is really cool. We managed to raise 150 quid. And hey, I like that view. Look, there's John, got his book. Do you know what? I can emulate. We can do this together, mate. This is brilliant. So anyway, we've come to the end of this evening's broadcast. Thank you so much for coming in. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's been absolutely fantastic to have you here. I would love to see you again next week. And please, 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 anybody that you can find or you think would be interested or would like to come along, it would be great to have some more people here. That would be absolutely fantastic. You will have also noticed that I'm kind of on my own. Now, every now and then, my granddaughter Emily is going to be coming to join me. She's absolutely brilliant. She's been researching ladybirds. So we'll hopefully have her along at some point. But if you've got something that you think is really, really relevant and you want to have a chat, say, Simon, can I come on and talk about this or whatever else, then get in touch, because after all, this is, well, I don't mind it being a Simon show, because anyone who knows me knows I can talk. But I also need to rest up from time to time. So do I have Hedgehog feeder boxes? I have Hedgehog boxes. And what's the subscription now? At this moment in time, we need to just juggle that. At the moment, it's, I say, the website doesn't display things as they are. We need to address that one. what I'm probably going to do is ask people to be supporters, but I'm not worrying about that at the moment. That's for later on. Yeah, I have to admit, I know people that have got 2 Hedgehog boxes, one that they sleep in and the other one that they eat in. And that's possibly the best way. I mean, it's a good time now to start putting the boxes out, because they'll be starting to think about hibernation kind of right now. In fact, maybe one of the things we'll have a focus on for next week might well be hibernation. So people sleeping in a hedgehog. That's it. Yeah, hedgehog people. Yes, Judith, I'm sure we can sort out a second one. Obviously, in if the situation standard as of last year still applies, I'll have a chat with you about that afterwards. Again, yeah, thank you very much for coming. We need to put a wrap on this one, because otherwise we'll still be here at 9:30. You know what I'm like. And but yeah, thank you very much for coming. And anyone that you can persuade to come along next week, let me know and we'll get an invite out. Okay, thank you very much indeed.